What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since we've done this. I don't even know what episode this is. It's like 7 or 8, but we took like a 6-month hiatus off of this. But we're back, and we're going to be doing these every week just to keep the consistency because we love doing these. And we kind of took like a break. I don't know if it was I don't even know what was the last movie we did it on. Was it The Flash? If it was The Flash, then it's way more than 6 months. What? I think it might have been.
We didn't do Wonka?
No, we didn't do any in December. I have no clue. But yeah, guys, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time being here, yeah, feel free to like, subscribe, and click that bell if you like this type of content. We love talking movies,
it helps.
pop culture, and yeah, it just helps kind of get us recommended, get us in the algorithm, all of that. We have 3 good topics that we will be talking about. Some from you guys today. Yeah, I'm just going to introduce myself if you're new here. My name is 𝙎𝙎𝙚𝙚, not 𝙎𝙎𝙚, but if you pronounce it that way, it's not the first time someone has. But it's 𝙎𝙎𝙚. And this is my twin brother, 𝙎𝙬𝙚. You guys can follow us over at the Twitter handles that we have right below our names. And yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and start this off with our first topic because I wanted to get this done. We were meant to talk about one of these movies in just a separate podcast, but we ended up kind of snowballing a bunch of movies this month, so I guess we'll just talk about all of them. And that's all the movies that we've watched in March. March has been a stacked month for movies this year. Dune Part 2, Roadhouse, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and Godzilla X Kong. They've all released this year, and we're going to give you guys our thoughts on all of these in order of release, I guess. So we'll just start with Dune. We're both repping the Dune shirts, the Dune merch, because
fear is the mind killer.
As written,
fear is the mind killer.
May thy knife chip and shatter, right? But go ahead and start off with your thoughts on the movie. I don't know if you want to rank it on our scale or if you want to do it on like an out of 10 basis, but I guess we'll decide.
I mean, what is there to say about this movie? I mean, you know, what is there not to say about Dune Part 2? You know what I mean? You hear a lot of the times, you hear a lot of people go out and they throw out the word masterpiece here and there. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. This time it's a masterpiece. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, the first one, don't get me wrong, I like the first one. I really, really do. I don't know if it's because Dune Part 2 is so good, but like it makes the first one not seem like a masterpiece, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it makes the first one seem like something less because the second one is so good.
Like, the first one is A tier, but the second one is so S tier that it makes it look B tier when it's still A tier. Like, Dune Part 1 is still A tier. Like,
no, exactly. No, that's my point. But like, what is there not to say about like this movie? Man. It has everything, like, especially for like the sci-fi fan, like great lore, like captivating performances, dude. The cinematography is it's gonna win cinema. It's gonna win best cinematography at the Oscars. Like, and I'm gonna be honest, if it doesn't, the movie that wins has to literally look like sex. Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Or it might just be a robbery because it wouldn't be the first time the Oscars.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Of a cinematography win.
Oh no. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first, but the cinematography, I mean, Hans Zimmer, he won an Oscar for Dune Part 1 for that score. And it's kind of crazy to think that that's the second Oscar he's ever had. The first one being, of course, Peak, The Lion King, of course.
The Lion King. That's like 20 years apart.
By the way, he's coming to Las Vegas in September. I'm going to go try to see him. Like, I have to go try to see Hans Zimmer here in Vegas. But, yeah, I mean, his score in Dune Part 2 literally eclipses his score in Dune Part 1. It's actually crazy. Like, because don't get me wrong, the Dune Part 1 score is really, really good, and he won an Oscar for it, like, deservingly. Like, it's a really good score, but again, this is what I mean when I say it makes Part 1 look a little bit like it's the Dune Part 2 score is just so good. It's better. Like, and it's so much better. Like, especially in all the right areas that it needs to be. Like, there's so many of these scenes that can just replay in your head just because of the score, like, and the way the sound is edited. Like, didn't Dune, I'm pretty sure they won for sound editing, right?
They won a lot. I think
The
they won
first
like
part. Like, dude,
6 or
expect Dune
5.
Part 2 to snatch up the same award. Like, expect them to snatch up all the same. You know what I mean? Except we're probably gonna get, and I don't want to say probably because it should be deserved that Timothée Chalamet gets an Oscar nomination for this role. Like, I'm sorry,
I think so.
Really see,
but it's a bit too
we're
early.
Almost halfway into the year, but I cannot see anybody really like eclipsing Timothée Chalamet in this movie, man.
I think they have to, but
no, they don't really have to. But at least a nomination. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm gonna feel like it's really, at that point, it's really just highway robbery if he doesn't get a nomination. Like, I get it; it's early to say, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a hot take at all. Like, Timothée Chalamet should definitely get his due props, and I really like Zendaya in this movie. I feel like there ain't enough people talking about Zendaya in this movie.
Not enough. I was actually going to make a tweet about that.
A lot of people talking about Austin Butler. A lot of people talking about Florence Pugh. Bro, Zendaya literally cooked on screen without even saying a word for like the last 10
Her screen presence is insane. It's top
her screen presence is ridiculous, bro. Like,
and apparently Challengers is peak. Apparently, like, is this her year?
Challengers like peak cinema too. So
yeah,
I mean Zendaya. I mean her agent is definitely cooking, like 100%. And I think Zendaya did very great in this role. I wouldn't be surprised if she got a supporting actress nomination. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't nominated. But you know, I feel like she should be because her performance in this movie, as well as even other performances, like Austin Butler was really good in this movie. Now, not as good as some people make it out to be. They make it out to be like they
did gas a little bit. They did. Not in a bad way, but
don't get me wrong.
Some of y'all did gas it. Some of y'all did gas it.
No, it's a great performance and everything is believable. And I feel like that's part of what makes this universe thrive is that everything feels very believable. All these actors are acting. They're acting their ass off. They seem like these characters.
Yeah, they're giving all time performances.
Like everybody in this movie did really great. Javier Bardem, I would not be surprised if he got a supporting actor nomination. I also wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. But he crushed it, man. Like, he was stealing every single scene. I mean, like the first one, don't get me wrong. You put on some muscle. The first part, you got some comedy here and there. But, I mean, Javier Bardem puts on a performance in this movie and delivers these comedic lines so well that it almost makes this movie more accessible to a wider audience.
To a broader audience, a bit blockbustery.
It almost makes it a bit more fun in that way and a bit more, you know, for the average viewer, you know, with that kind. And he just times it so well. And it's the way, I mean, Denis, it's never been doubted. Like, he just knows how to write movies. He just knows how to do it.
Absolutely,
he's great at writing movies. If at one point in his career he can't shoot, and the cinematographers he's working with sucking his movies look bad, you can definitely depend on the fact that the movie's going to be written well. And Denis just shows it off in this movie, bro. You got some slower scenes once you get to like the middle portion of the movie, or kind of like the beginning of the third act a little bit. You got some little slow scenes, but the way he writes these scenes are so well done that
you're still locked in.
There,
you're still
you don't really care. You feel like
leaned forward in your chair.
Yeah, everything is engaging. Like, all the dialogues, all the conversations that are being had, the way the music is edited into them, and the way some of these shots are, and how believable the characters are. Like, it just makes those scenes, even those slower scenes, that much more captivating. And I just really think there isn't that. I can't see a lot of negative. I can't see anything negative about this movie. Like, I really
literally the only critique I could find is that
a critique. I've never read the book, but I mean, from what I'm looking at, I mean, when people say this is this generation's Lord of the Rings, I mean, it's right there on the screen. They're speeding. 100%. Like, when I was watching this movie, it gave me that feeling, that epicness, that dialogue, that how every conversation matters and every single scene matters.
There's weight. to literally everything.
Everything.
Even the
The
smallest
VFX
things
is seamless. Stuff like that just makes it that much more believable and just makes you more just like you're sitting in this world. It's almost like if Avatar and Star Wars met like Passion of the Christ, dog. Like I don't even know how to put to words like what to really like use to describe the movie, but I mean it's just an epic tale of sci-fi that's done in the best ways. And
I mean, how would you rate it?
In my opinion, I can't. If I had to rate it on a scale of like 1 to 10, I would give it like a 9.4. Yeah, like I can't. Now this already eclipsed for me Mad Max Fury Road in my top 10 movies of all time. This is number 10 in my top 10 movies of all time. And granted, that might be a little bit biased because of my theater experience, because also, can we talk about the theater experience of this movie? It feels like,
yeah, I mean,
this is one of my, this is,
it was even better the second time.
Like, it was even better. This is top 3, if not the greatest theater experience I've ever had, next to, Avatar: The Way of Water, Avengers Endgame. But like, the theater experience, my first 2 times watching this in IMAX Laser, it's like, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And when I can't really find any negatives in this, and I would watch this 1,000, it's a 2-hour and 46-minute movie that I would watch.
It flies. It flies, man.
I cannot say that about the first one. I cannot say
this one flies.
This one right here, turn that shit on. We're watching Dune Part 2. Put it on right now. Like I could watch any part. It doesn't even matter. Start it from the end. I don't care. Like I just like seeing it. And, this movie is it's one of those all-timers. It's one of those ones where, people look at Denis, oh, who's Denis? Dune? He did Dune?
Dune, right.
Yeah. He did and Dune Messiah, by the way, Dune Messiah is going to be...
Just got confirmed, like, literally an hour ago or something.
And it's going to be a class act. I hope, like, it's going to be a class act. Like, it's going to be
And he only said he'll do it
if the script is better than Dune Part 2. And
so
I 100%
all I'm saying
believe Denis Villeneuve's words
is when that movie gets a release 100%. Date, I know we're in for peak. We're in for peak.
I'm about to make a separate bank account just for Dune just for Dune Messiah. All the merch, tickets. I'm about to just start saving, make a separate account for that because, man, I cannot wait. Dune Part 2, 9.4 out of 10. It's an absolute masterpiece. And especially a masterpiece of the sci-fi genre, 100,000%, and one of the best movies I've seen in my lifetime.
Absolutely,
and probably gonna go down as a top 3 film this year.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I can't imagine. I know we're still relatively young. Early 20s, like. We're young bucks still, but
I'm young. I know I don't look like it. Look at me slouching and shit, my belly and stuff. Like I know I don't look like it, but like we're young, bro. Like,
but in retrospect, I just can't help but be a little jealous at people that are like, I don't know, maybe between the ages of like 12 and 16 that get to grow up with this, and this is their Lord of the Rings.
Don't get me wrong, man. I would have, and I love.
What did we have when we were that age? We had
but like this,
the Marvel movies.
Different, man.
This is like I really wish, like if I saw this as a young high school kid who was infatuated with the arts of cinema. I mean, straight up,
it would be my entire personality.
I mean, it is amazing. Like you said, I mean, I can't say anything that hasn't been said, but the costume design.
I can't really think of anything bad.
The cinematography. I don't know what sauce. I don't know what Greg Fraser does to make the volume or anything look.
He's doing some LeBron demon ritual.
But
like
he gets on a movie and or even a show, like automatically makes it look great. I don't even think Dune was shot on volume, but the fact that when you look at stuff that was filmed on volume, it's the good ones are shot by Greg Fraser. Like literally the Batman, Mando, like, and I just want to say like if he doesn't win, because I don't think did he win the first year? I think he did. I think he did actually. I think he did. I think he deserves it again. Honestly, I don't see any movie this year really
100%.
competing on a cinematography level as Dune. maybe Furiosa, but there's even some iffy things there. Maybe Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That movie looks gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. That movie looks breathtaking.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
But I mean, everything in here: sound design, sound mixing, editing, score, performances. Everything that you liked about, even if you didn't like Dune Part 1, anything that you did,
like Dune Part 2.
They give you that in spades and more in this. They're like, oh, you like the lore? We're going to pay that off so good. Even the smallest words are going to send chills down your entire body. Oh, you didn't like the performances? Well, here you go. They're insanely better this time. Like, you didn't think there was enough action? Oh, I got you within the first act of the movie. Like, everything is so satisfying. And by the time you're in the third act, by the time you get to that climactic final battle, you don't even care how long it lasts. You don't care what you're watching. Nope. It's so paid off so well. You're just basking in the moment. Like, you're genuinely there, taking it in. It's kind of crazy. And, I mean, it flies by. I watched this a second time, and there was a certain point where I had to go to the bathroom, and then a certain scene came up.
Potty dance.
And I was like, oh, we're here? I was like, oh, we're here already? Oh, I mean, okay, I'll just stick it out for it flies by compared to the first movie. And I think a lot of that is because this movie has no dull points. There's no points in this movie where, like, nothing's interesting. You know what I mean? And there's a part of this movie.
And he is like, Pete.
Yeah, and there's a certain part of the movie where we're introduced to a character, and it's off world, and we're introduced to someone, and it takes like a solid 20 minutes of just introducing this character. But everything even though we're taking obviously time off of Paul's journey and stuff, like, it is so investing, and you're just so enamored and just locked into what's going on, the visuals of everything, the tone of everything, what's going on, like the hype, the everything that, like, you're just like, you don't even think that we just took 20 minutes off of the core main story. You don't even think, because you're so invested. I can't talk about this anymore. I mean, if I had to rate it, I mean, this is like, honestly, this is like as close to a 10.
I want to preface this by saying, if you did not watch Dune Part 2 in IMAX, I feel bad for you.
I mean, some people can't. If you can and you haven't, then there's an issue.
Even if you couldn't, I feel bad for you.
No, yeah, I definitely do.
Dude,
best way to watch this movie.
Watching this in IMAX laser was an out-of-body experience, bro. Like, bro, the sandworm scene, my ass was getting hot from the rumbling. Like,
there's so many scenes that live in my head, like, rent-free. The opening, dude, not even the opening action sequence.
Oh my God.
The scene, I'm pretty sure it's in the first act. It might be at the beginning of the second, but the sequence where they are fighting Harkonnen gunships, or Harkonnen like helicopters, or just phenomenal shit. Phenomenal shit. Now, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect movie. It might as well be. I'd give it like a 9.6. Obviously, it's like the Spider-Verse treatment. Like, Across the Spider-Verse can go up or down depending on how good Beyond is. And like with Dune Part 2, although it's definitely a lot more concluded than Part 1. There still is a Part 3. And you know, there is still a story left to be told. And so I'd give this like a 9.8.
The way they ended.
And it would be perfect depending on how Dune Messiah is. But I mean, it was just amazing. And the only negative I can think about is there is a character that returns in the movie that really didn't need to be in the movie. And actually,
I mean, I think we could get into spoilers at this point.
I do.
Like, if you haven't seen Dune, that's your fault.
If you haven't seen Dune, I don't even think it's that big of a spoiler. So I'm going to just say it. Gurney returns in here.
Yes.
And honestly, I think Gurney and Duncan could have been combined into a character of some sort. Because I thought Duncan you literally could have left Duncan out pretty much. I don't think it would have changed anything, really.
No.
And if that was instead Gurney, and he actually wasn't dead or something. Like, I thought that was my only qualm, was like, oh, Gurney's here and he's providing nothing to Dune Part 2. Like, literally, pretty much dick riding only. Like pretty much meat riding only. Like, that's it. Literally, that's it. But I mean, like, when that's the only negative you can think of, and he's not in the movie
I will say though, Gurney does have one of the best parts of this movie in the one scene where
yes,
he just looks at Timothée Chalamet, and Timothée Chalamet looks at him,
and he goes up,
starts marching up like a cliff. That was Gurney's best
moment.
And
the camera comes up and reveals like millions of
dude in IMAX. It was like
of Fremen.
The crowd started getting loud as hell. I was like, holy bro!
I think at that point, I'm pretty sure you can correct me. Didn't you look over to my chair, and I think I was like 3 feet off the ground. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I was like levitating at some point, and my brother looked at me.
No, you were literally. I think your fart was levitating. You farted.
Oh, is that what it was?
I smelled it.
Oh,
that's why I looked at you. I smelled it.
Oh, all right.
I think it was your fart. I think you pooed it.
But yeah, guys, I'd give it like a 9,
Part 2,
9.8, 9.7. It's damn near perfect, and it could honestly very, very may well be perfect, depending on how Dune Messiah is. But I mean, if you haven't watched this movie, try to watch it in theater.
Don't try to watch it in a theater. Go watch it in a theater.
In the biggest, loudest,
on the biggest screen, loudest sound, anything you can do.
And if you can't, and you watch it at home, it still better be on the biggest and loudest screen at your home. Like, don't watch this on your phone, on the Nintendo DS, on the PSP. Don't even watch it on the damn GameCube.
Bro, did you see? Did you guys watch Argyle? Like, we don't get these off.
Why the stray? Like, why the Argyle stray out of nowhere? Like,
I'm just saying, man. I appreciate Denis for what he's brought into the world.
I mean, it's going crazy. Didn't it pass like 600 million or something?
I guess that it would make 800 million. I don't know where the trajectory is going. I don't know what the release is like overseas.
I think they kind of messed up releasing it in March too.
Yeah, let's look at this. Let's look this up. This is a podcast episode, so
if that released in July, that would have been $1 billion movie straight up.
Let's see. Dune Part 2 box office.
And I also think the time between Dune Part 1 and 2 kind of hurt a little bit. I think people that weren't invested in Part 1, if Part 2 came out soon after, people would have still gave it a chance just to get invested, to see if there was that chance. But it's been 3 years since the first movie, so people that aren't on the train probably aren't interested in seeing it, unless someone genuinely convinces them.
So right now they have about $650 million.
It could make 7, but
I don't know what the international release is like.
Yeah, has it even released internationally?
It has, but just like a month ago.
It must not. Does it not? Is it not getting a China release?
China. It released in China about a month ago. Did it?
A month ago? Yeah. Oh, so it's
made almost 50 million from China.
In China?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it ending at around like 680, 700 if we're lucky. I mean,
people are watching Godzilla X Kong right now, which we will be talking about.
Yeah, we're about to talk about it. Literally,
people are watching Godzilla X Kong, and it's actually this is a great segue.
Yeah, it is.
Talk about.
You want to talk about that?
That's taking box office from Doom.
You want to talk about that because there's 2 movies that released before that. But if you want to talk about Godzilla X Kong first, we can.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. It just released recently. Let's get into it, man. I mean, Godzilla X Kong, Lizard versus Monk.
I'm gonna be as quick as possible with this. This movie is literally wrestling with kaijus, and it's very Showa era. No.
You have your kaiju action figures, bro. If you saw our trailer reaction, I was like, bro, like that's
what it's like. That's what it's like.
Sitting on
There's
shelf.
No sense of scale anymore in the MonsterVerse. Which
where did it go?
If that's the sacrifice for this kind of stuff, I don't know how to feel about it. Hopefully it returns. And I just want to preference, if you take 1 second to even remotely think about what's going on in the movie, you will facepalm immediately. It's so dumb. But like, don't let that like try not to think. I know that's
couple minutes of
that's
the
a red
movie,
flag,
you can tell
but just try not
what kind
to.
of movie it is. Like,
yeah, absolutely,
like
definitely.
And with that, if you like, you gotta watch the rest of the movie that way.
I will say though,
like,
in comparison
I can't
to the
imagine
rest,
somebody taking this movie seriously.
Yeah.
King Kong was ragdolling Diddy Kong Jr.
He was
swinging him like a bat, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
it was crazy. There's some wild stuff in here. Godzilla suplexes someone.
Godzilla has a suplex. He does, and the form was amazing.
It was.
The form was.
I was like, did they use reference on like?
I mean, Prime Kane,
Mark Henry
almost.
Or something. Kane, yeah, like
a nice one.
It was great. But I think I will say though, other than like Kong Skull Island, I think not that this movie has the best humans, because Ken Watanabe and King of the Monsters is still really good. But
and Bryan Cranston and Godzilla.
Yeah, and Bryan Cranston and Godzilla. But in terms of like the use of human characters and like how much they're in it, I'd say this is like among the best, other than Skull Island. Like, they're in here, but not much. Like, they're not in here a lot. And when they are, I mean, Brian Tyree Henry and Dan Stevens had me laughing. Like, their relationship
I'm not gonna lie
in the movie was solid. I'm not gonna lie.
Brian Tyree Henry wasn't doing it for me.
I didn't mind him.
Maybe that's just not my kind of humor. His humor.
No,
was kind
I thought him with Dan Stevens was the highlights of the movie.
Yeah, Dan Stevens
them
helped
together.
Lot.
Yeah, I already figured it. I already knew he was gonna carry the human side of the movie.
Off the gate, Dan Stevens had.
If you've never seen Legion or anything he's in,
I'm there.
Go watch it. He's actually in the upcoming Abigail movie. But yeah, I mean we're just gonna keep it short and simple. There's some monsters that show up.
It's a masterpiece
as well. It just makes no sense. Like, there's things that happen that make zero sense, and it's clearly.
Have you guys ever been to the world inside of the world that was inside of the world that was inside the world?
Yeah, there's a hollow earth.
Because if you have not been inside of that world that was inside of that world,
it's pretty crazy.
I don't know what world you're in.
And Scar King was pretty formidable, if I do, or pretty unformidable.
Bro, honestly, the best part about Scar King was the Scar Fries.
The Scar Fries marketing for Carl's Jr. in Mexico. Godzilla burger, Kong burger, Scar Fries. Like, I mean, those are the big three. If we're being honest, them the big three. But he was a whack villain, not gonna lie. His mannerisms were pretty sick though. Like, the way he carried himself was pretty raw. But I mean, he posed no
he had
threats.
that Wemby body build.
He posed no challenge to Kong. Literally, the first time Kong meets him, like, they're scrapping, and Kong is clearly whooping his ass so bad that he had to use mind control powers. Like,
he's like basically like holding back the entire time. Like, I don't want to kill you, but like,
yeah. And can we just talk about like? Let me just say, the CG in here is really it's fine, but it's almost.
I mean,
like,
this was the cheapest film of the series.
It was. I'll give it that credit for it being the cheapest film. There's a lot in here.
It looks like it, but I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, it's not even that the CG is like necessarily bad or anything. It's that the models aren't as textured and as crisp,
sharp,
as photoreal as previous monster movies, and obviously some of that is like lighting.
This makes Godzilla versus Kong look like.
Yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong.
And I liked a lot more. I guess I didn't appreciate Godzilla vs. Kong.
There's people that prefer this over Godzilla vs. Kong, and I guess I just don't. I
don't see that. Trash take, in my opinion.
If you think about, and I know we just told you not to, which is kind of contradicting, but if you think about the stories in the two movies, I think what's going on in Godzilla vs. Kong with the human side is way more interweaved better.
Yeah.
Than in Godzilla X Kong. In Godzilla X Kong, it's exposition.
There's not a scene nearly as good as the ship scene.
It's straight exposition in Godzilla X Kong. It's like, so we're going to introduce the humans just to introduce like this specific plot point that's about to happen.
it's the most random looking action ever.
Yeah, there's zero gravity sequencing here
Like,
that I could have done without. It was so incomprehensible.
Some of the action sequences are like, where are we at? We're here. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, there's no setup to it. There's no like there's no what happens after. Like, it's just like
Godzilla specifically.
Like,
Godzilla shows up here.
They cut to random points of Godzilla.
And it's
just like beating ass in the middle of cities and taking naps in the Coliseum. Like, I'm like, what's going on? Like, but at that point, brain was already shut off. The mac and cheese bites I had were better than Godzilla X Kong.
Brain was shut off. I feel like
I was just like stuffing my face with mac and cheese bites and laughing at dumb shit because it's dumb shit. It's just big monkey, big lizard
fighting big lizard,
cold lizard, and big and long arm monkey.
I will say, I want to give credit.
Let's just spoil it already. Shimu is in this movie.
That's
and
not
I don't know
spoiler,
who Shimu
really.
is. Yeah, not really, but Shimu looks so stupid.
It looked weird. It looked very weird.
I was not getting.
It looked kind of like shiny.
I was not vibing.
Like, it was a little shiny and stuff. It was. I do like, though, something happens at the end with Shimu or Shimo. I forget what it's called. Something happens with that character at the end that I really like. But there's some standout moments in here, man. Seeing Kong ride Godzilla to fight like Scar, King, and Shimo.
I saw really someone cool. In the front row. They did a backflip in front of the screen when that happened.
I'm pretty sure they did the Fortnite one where they like lay with their elbow on the floor. Oh, like I think that's how they landed.
That must have been while I was in the bathroom.
But yeah, I mean, when the action gets going, like it's such popcorn fun. You stop thinking about it, and I just want to give credit to Adam Wingard because at least he makes these movies visible, and I want to applaud him for actually adding light to these fights, because one of the big issues I have with the first two Godzilla movies is how much it's covered in fog and like it's always in the dark and dust, and like in Kong Skull Island, obviously there's a reason why that's the best movie. It's doing everything at a high bar. Visuals, action, characters, story. It's doing everything at the highest bar. But Godzilla vs. Kong, they gave them, you know, the neon kind of bright lights in there. And then in this movie, it's a lot more shot in the daytime, which for better or for worse. But I will say, yeah, there's a lack of scale. And I hope we kind of dial that back. I love you, Adam Wingard. I can tell you're having a blast directing these, but
a little bit too much.
Dial it back a little bit. You know, make us.
I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like they took away from any sort of tension in the movie. By the way, like I didn't feel any tension because they look like 6 foot humans. Yeah. And I know they're not gonna die. I know Godzilla's not gonna die. I know Kong is not gonna die. But like at least, you know,
this movie give look like they were using CGI miniatures.
Yeah, give us some scale. And I know it's Showa era inspired, but still, man, when you have a baby Kong in the movie, like I want to feel scared for baby Kong. And I loved him, by the way. Can I just get that out the way? I loved baby Kong here. He wasn't some like weird like, oh, I gotta take care of this kid. Let me cradle him. Like it wasn't that. No, like he had some spark to him. Like baby Kong had a little feistiness to him, a little spice to him,
and it kind of gave some depth. It kind of the stuff with Scar King and stuff kind of gave some depth.
Yeah, there's some highlights in here for sure.
The way he was acting and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like a 20-minute sequence where there's no humans talking, and it's just us following Kong and like baby Kong and this story of like what's going on with like Scar King and stuff and all that. Literally, that was the highlight. That was the high point of the movie, where there was no humans, almost no talking, but you can see the visual storytelling that was going on. And if we lean more into that, man, I mean, imagine just a movie where it's just Godzilla X, or it's just Godzilla and Kong doing stuff. And I did hear Adam Wingard say,
I think I would feel a bit worse if Godzilla -1 didn't exist.
You'd feel worse?
Yeah, I'd feel worse about Godzilla X Kong.
If like, it didn't exist?
If -1 did not exist.
You would feel worse about it. Why?
Because -1 exists.
You know it's not going to be
a little bit more lenient on Godzilla X Kong. It's like,
I can see that.
Whatever, I got this. Like,
yeah.
If it's good, great. If it's bad, I got this.
Yeah, I think.
But I feel like if -1 didn't exist, it would be more like, what are they doing?
Like, it is some there is some things Adam Wingard talked about like he has ideas for the sequel being like a reverse situation with Godzilla. My theory is apparently this is definitely getting a sequel.
Yeah. It's making its money back for sure.
Yeah, my headcanon is that they'll probably just do a Godzilla movie where instead of Kong needing Godzilla's help, Godzilla needs Kong's help. And
then we see Godzilla can speak English.
While we're on that topic, yeah, Manila might be introduced as well. But while we're on that topic, I just want to say, why is Kong being done so dirty in these event films? In Skull Island, nobody could fuck with my boy. In Skull Island, he was ripping guts out. He was using boat propellers.
He was like,
what are we talking about?
20 times smaller.
And then in Godzilla X Kong, oh, I need the axe. Oh, Godzilla's stepping on me and yelling at my face. That hurt. That hurt me. I'm not even gonna lie. And then in this movie, they're like, oh, your hand is fried now. And then they're like, matter of fact, we're gonna do if the last movie didn't make it clear, Godzilla's gonna roar in your face again. Like the disrespect is at an all-time high. And like, I'm sorry,
Godzilla's literally running at this dude, and Kong is like,
it's really only. I know. It's really only making Kong Skull Island age better, if we're being honest. But yeah, if I had to give it a rating,
out of 10,
like a 70,
6-7.
6-7. Oh, out of 10, I'd give it. Yeah, around the same. I'd be a little more lenient since like it's clearly not taking itself serious. And I mean, Adam Wingard seems like the happiest dude on the planet.
The kids in the theater were loving it.
Yeah, they were eating it up.
They was laughing their ass off. I was like, yeah.
I mean, if you're here for the kaiju action, it's there, and it's there in spades. Like, there's a lot of action here, and there's some fun moments. It was funny every now and then.
This is a masterpiece of the genre. I mean,
this is my Lord of the Rings.
Look at what I'm seeing right now. Like 9 or 10 years old,
it was
like. It gets better than this? I don't think so.
It definitely was a blast. It's just very far from perfect. Is it one of my lesser favorite MonsterVerse movies? Probably.
Yeah.
I think
probably
where it ranks
my least favorite.
Least? Oh no. I think I would put Monarch and King of the Monsters below this, but I think Godzilla vs. Kong is better. Godzilla 2014 is better, and Kong Skull Island is way better. But,
you think this is better than King of the Monsters?
I do. It's obviously not. It doesn't have the artistic integrity of that movie, but I mean, King of the Monsters is Godzilla's in it for 11 minutes. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not giving that a pass.
And Rodan.
I know. I do like that it's really making him the King of the Monsters. I do like that, but it's just if it's gonna be as like, I guess the leeway Godzilla X Kong gets is that it knows it's dumb. Like, it's not trying to take itself serious.
Yeah.
And you get both. Like, you get Godzilla and Kong. And with King of the Monsters, I think, you're getting Godzilla and all the people that he's going to absolutely dethrone and prove that are frauds. But, I mean, he's only in it for one more minute than he is in Godzilla 2014. And when stuff is in fog and in the dark and stuff like that, like, I mean, come on. Like, I mean, there's highlights of that movie, but I'd much rather rewatch Godzilla X Kong. Like, there's such like fun to that movie that you can't help but like cook up a bowl of popcorn.
I disagree.
That's fine.
How about that?
That's fine. I don't know if I dropped my MonsterVerse ranking after.
Dope as fuck. How about that?
I think you might be in the minority there, but let's hope not.
Okay, I mean,
yeah, I'd give it like a 6. I'd give it like a 6.8, 6.9, a bit more lenient because it's not taking itself seriously. That's how these movies should be. Sony, yeah, guys.
Oh, Sony isn't taking any of their movies seriously.
Speaking of Sony, let's go ahead and segue into Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. The second movie with Empire in it.
Empire.
This month alone.
What can I say about empires? There's not enough I can say about it. I love them.
Just give your quick thoughts on Ghostbusters.
Let me tell you something. The reviews came out. All right, and,
they did.
Okay, put your big boy pants on. Take your diapers off.
It hurt a little.
Put your big boy pants on.
It hurt.
The reviews came out.
As someone who loved Afterlife, it hurt a little bit. It was like,
I was so excited. The teaser looked dope as hell. The CGI looks nice and polished. The villain.
The CGI, by the way, in this movie is really good. By the way, let me just.
The villain has an immaculate design. Something I can get behind. Some anime shit almost, right? Not gonna watch this movie. And not only is the villain, you want to talk about Godzilla being in King of the Monsters for 11 minutes.
Oh yeah, the villain's barely in here.
The villain in this movie for like 11 minutes.
They build up to the villain,
and I can say that this movie wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Like,
no, it wasn't.
Again, trailer fire, cast back, OG cast back. Same or the director is
It's Gil Kenny. He directed Monster House.
I was like, he did Monster House and stuff, and I was like, I rock with that. He's got a sense of style. He's got a sense of like taste, you know, some flavor. Yeah. So I was like, we there. And I really told myself the reviews suck, right? Like they're expecting too much out of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now all of a sudden these Ghostbusters movies need to be written like a masterpiece, right? You know, they're all like plot storyline. I'm like, whatever. You know, some of you guys said the same thing about Afterlife, and I love Afterlife, and it's really it's objectively in my opinion really freaking good and one of the better.
At the amount of people movies that don't like that movie.
If you want to act like a critic on these movies, it's probably the best. It's probably technically the best movie, like technical wise, but. I wanted to like this movie more, and I gave it the benefit of the doubt. I was like, the reviews are stupid. They're just dumb. Like, they're just hating.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that this movie does that is just
conveniences.
It's not. It's bad.
Plot holes.
Not only is it bad, but it's like, damn, how far? Like, what is this departure from Afterlife?
Like, I don't want to make excuses. Random. I don't want to, but I give it the benefit of the doubt due to Ivan Reitman's passing. I wanted
to like this movie. I love the cast, man.
And Sony definitely rushed this movie because Afterlife was delayed like 3 years. I know for a fact they rushed this movie. There's no way they don't. There's no way they didn't rush this movie. And part of me thinks maybe Jason Reitman would have been the main writer and director back had he not had the complications with obviously his father's death and handing it over to Gil Kennan. And as much as that hurts, I mean, and as much as I can give it the benefit of the doubt, the movie, not that it was a disappointment. I'm not going to say it's a disappointment. Like, there's actually stuff to love in this movie. Specifically, there's things they do with the lore that was really interesting.
It was like it was like
you wanted it, but you wanted it to be better.
That teaser was so good. I loved that teaser. The way that they was like on the beach, like in the summer, and the chick with the glasses and shit, and like everything's getting frozen. And like then you got the car like coming out. I'm like, this is about to be a banger, 100%, bro.
And there's stuff. Like, I don't know what happened.
Some random ass subplots in this movie, and you know. Plot conveniences and like stuff they do, like they kind of take some character screen. Like Finn Wolfhard is not.
I feel bad for my boy.
He's in this movie, right?
I think he's on the cast list. I think.
Wait, let me go to the IMDb real quick.
Bro, you should look up how much screen time
he's in this movie.
You should look up how much screen time he has. Actually,
he's in this movie.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it really hurt because I saw the negative. I saw the negative reviews.
But is he really in this movie?
And I was still trying to give it the benefit of the doubt.
He was on his own random adventures, bro. Like
he was. They did a certain thing with him,
bro, like
trying to catch a specific ghost that we all love, but it made no sense. It literally made no sense. Why is this ghost here? We don't know.
Well, I can't find online his screen time, but I bet it's under 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
And there's some shenanigans going on in this movie because there's stuff that is clearly cut out of the movie. There is
in the trailer that
multiple things in the trailers that are not there. And it makes me wonder, did Sony look at this movie and go, let's take this stuff out. Let's get it under 2 hours to get it in as many theater plays as possible, because I mean there's a part of the trailer that's like one of the best parts of the trailer that's not in the movie. But then I walk into the
theater and I gotta watch Kumail Nanjiani play arguably the dumbest character in the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's the lowest. I think that's the worst part of the movie. Not Kumail himself. I think he's doing a great job. He actually made me laugh. I think he made me laugh the most, honestly. Yeah. But
the character though,
what they did with his character,
where they put him in the story.
If you guys watch pitch meetings, Godzilla X Kong and Ghostbusters are gonna have barely an inconvenience in it so much.
I can't wait to watch those ones.
But once again, I mean, we're harping on it negatively. I want to get the positives out the way. I think the CGI in here is literally like great.
CGI is great. There's not a single instance where I was like, that looks...
Yeah, especially the villain.
2020s VFX.
The villain CG is so
The villain looks absolutely amazing in this
great design as well. Yeah,
I just wish the villain was in it.
They do take a while to build up to the villain, and the payoff isn't that satisfying.
The villain's got a nice creepy vibe to him.
Yeah, very creepy. It's got a lot more horror elements than I'd say any Ghostbusters movie.
McKenna Grace, Phoebe Spengler.
She's still the highlight of the movie. They do some subplot with her that I don't agree with, but
the subplot is so dumb. It's so stupid. Oh my god!
There's just things that get in the way of this. The opening was fire. The opening of the movie.
The opening was great. I was like,
great.
Shit,
Ghostbusters adventure. Okay, we just on it.
Talking about. But then we're in the firehouse and stuff, and I'm even like like the dynamic of them in the firehouse.
Yeah,
I'm like Cook. Yeah, and then the movie's like, no.
I think they do interesting things. I think there's a certain kind of would you call it a subplot with Paul Rudd's character and how he's trying to handle being in this group.
They should have made that the core of the movie.
I didn't mind that. I actually really like that subplot.
They should have made that the main focus of the movie.
Yeah, and I think
it would have gave McKenna Grace more to do too, because literally her subplot is like all she does in the movie. Like they literally kick McKenna Grace's character out of the movie.
Well, there's a reason they do it, and it makes sense. But the subplot that is the result of that
is even dumber. It's even dumber the way it's resolved in the end.
Yeah, it was
like they kind of kicked her out. You know what I mean? And then she's just doing her subplot the entire movie instead of like if you would have woven in that Paul Rudd dynamic and made that the core, you would have gave McKenna Grace more to do, and like it would have had an afterlife. You know, kind of like feedback. It would have had an afterlife kind of feeling to it. More emotion, more depth there, kind of like that afterlife when like.
I do think that there is a lot of you can't have your cake eat it too stuff in here though. Like I'm not gonna lie, like there's so much in this movie going on that there's some stuff that like we just couldn't get. Like as much as I love and I want and I really do hope this gets a third movie just to get a trilogy. I need it focused on just the core Spanglers, but it is tough because when you do put them back in New York and they're back in the firehouse, you gotta have the OGs there. Like you can't go there and then not have the OGs like at all, because it would feel like where are where are they?
Somewhere in this movie, there's a way to do that.
I agree, but I still think they do some interesting things. I think with Ernie Hudson's character specifically, like the position they put his character in was great. Yeah, I like what they did with his character. And Dan Aykroyd, I thought he was great in this, having obviously in Ray's shop and stuff like that. I thought the use of him was great too. But then you got like people like Bill Murray that like show up maybe once before the end of the movie,
Bro,
and it makes sense with this character.
Bro,
but
like breaks the fourth wall. They're like, "Hey, you haven't seen me in a long time." The next time you see him, he like pops his head and
he's
it's
like,
like,
"Hey, you haven't seen me in a long time."
The writers, it's my time. It's Bill Murray time.
Yeah, but there's some interesting concepts that they add to the lore that I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And
there's pieces of this movie. There's elements that's like there was a good Ghostbusters movie in there somewhere.
Yeah,
and I don't want to say it because I don't know, but it has that feeling like there was like not a studio, not the studio notes or anything, but like there was just like
too many
butting heads, or like there just wasn't. There just was not everybody was on the same page.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I do know that,
and that is kind of what happened. I
do know before the movie, or before Ivan Reitman passed, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Rest in peace.
He did give the green light to the story. My guess is that was probably just the bare bones of like, we're gonna bring them back to New York. The OG cast is gonna help them, and this is definitely a passing of the torch type movie. You can tell by the end of the movie where they get where it ends. And I really do hope that this gets a third movie. I really hope it does, because I'd imagine that's the route they would go, is to make it like just Spangler family ghost busting.
But obviously, McKenna Grace wouldn't be in the next movie though, because she can't be Ghostbusters, right?
What do you mean?
Not allowed to. Too young.
That's I mean, that's resolved in this movie
in the dumbest way possible.
It is, but like, it is resolved. You can't be like, McKenna Grace is not going to be a Ghostbusters in the next movie as if it's not resolved when it was resolved. But yeah, I really hope they can make this more about, because that is what I loved most about Afterlife. It made me cry. Don't get me wrong. The tribute to Harold Ramis and seeing the OGs come back for that like final act gave me so much emotion.
Much worse than
But
Afterlife.
what struck me the most about Afterlife, other than it's being hard, obviously, was McKenna Grace is like, she is the best in this movie.
Best part of these movies.
She has everyone in her personality. She has Ray's obsession over these things, over ghosts and the paranormal. She has Harold or Ramis's Egon's like intellectualness and awkwardness. She has kind of Bill Murray's snarkiness, his kind of like assholeness, and Ernie Hudson's everyman. She's that. Like, she has the everyman type to her. She's every Ghostbuster in one. And they just needed to lean more into that in this movie, and I just don't think they did. There's real. If you watch this movie though, you won't hate it. Like, it's not a movie. It's innocent. It is an innocent movie. No. It's not doing anything offensive. And all the OGs are like in their prime form. Like, they're all back doing like what they do. If not like that, they're
just in the movie at weird points. And I gotta say, where's the podcast spin-off? No, what I mean,
I need podcasts to have an actual Ghostbuster podcast that's canon to the Ghostbuster universe.
In this universe, this bad, because it seemed like they want to have podcasts in this universe bad.
I liked him in Afterlife. I don't know what he was doing in this one though. He wasn't. What happened to the podcast?
He's in New York now. He's in New York now.
He got too Hollywood on us. He got a little too Hollywood on us.
With the Spanglers out of nowhere.
Got too Hollywood on us, man.
We need a podcast spin-off.
Yeah. I need podcasts to have an actual podcast.
Scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10.
I'd give it like a 7-1. Like a 7-1.
I can't even go that
maybe
high.
A 7 flat.
I'll give it 6. I give it I'll give it a 6-8.
6-8, yeah. It's not perfect. I guess, like, as someone who's a huge fan of the franchise, there was enough there for me to like latch onto with the lore. Obviously the OG cast coming back and just them in New York. It added a lot of flavor to it that Afterlife didn't have. It was very small.
No, it doesn't feel like I do think Afterlife.
That is the charm of Afterlife. But in this movie, that opening sequence just like gave me the biggest smile. I just need, hopefully, the third movie to just be that opening sequence for 2 hours.
Yes, just
like,
give us
the Spangler family bickering, joking, and Ghostbusters.
Test in Central Park. Like, come on, bruh.
Yeah, I do like the little Easter egg they did When she was playing chess, though.
Yeah.
That was a callback to Afterlife and Egon. I liked it. There's little things in this movie, but there's unfortunately.
But again, the way it's used,
that weigh it down. That weigh it down. But yeah, guys, that's our review of Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. And for our last review, we're gonna go ahead and quickly talk about Roadhouse. It's a streaming movie. Just came out.
Is it a streaming movie?
It is.
This should have been seen on the big screen.
I'm gonna give it a straight 7. I'm rolling through this. The action is great.
I'm gonna go 7-1. I'm gonna go 7-1.
And it's got zero substance, zero emotion. There's zero chemistry here, and the story is trash. The character has no arc, and I'm sorry, I wouldn't watch this again, but give me a Roadhouse 2, please. Okay, thank you. That's my review. 7 flat.
I would watch this movie again, number 1. Number 2, Jake Gyllenhaal becoming a psychomaniac.
Yeah, this became a slasher movie in the third act.
Towards the third act of the movie is like, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I was watching the movie, I was like, this is cool.
I would have loved to do a commentary because
that was happening.
Our commentary was hilarious, dude.
Bro, when that was happening, bro, like I was like, this movie is like so much better now.
Oh
like,
wow.
I was like, this is so much better. Conor McGregor is giving.
Oh, he's dialed up to 11 in the best way possible.
Performance that I love.
In the best way. I ate it up. I ate it all.
It's like he's Chev Chelios in Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's supposed to be in the Crank movies. Like
I think
he's dialed up to 1,000 in this movie, man.
I think there's 3 main things that brought it down for me, and I'm just gonna say it. I think one of those things is they have a romantic subplot in here that has no chemistry or enough development to care for in the slightest.
It's so forced.
And the only reason it's in here is to give the main character a reason for the third act to happen, leading me into my second point. They do this thing in the third act where like it gets like high speed chasey and big blockbustery, and I thought that took away from kind of the Roadhouse aesthetic, how grounded it is. I thought it took away from that. And my third thing is that you don't really care for the Roadhouse that much in this movie. I thought by the end, cool, the community is banding together to defend mass murder.
You care a little like, bit because of the character that owns the Roadhouse. She's kind of the one that gives Jake's character like you know a bit of an opportunity, and like you kind of get depth on like what the Roadhouse is based on like how she talks about it and some of the workers there and stuff. I like some of the dynamic of like some of the workers and stuff. I think there's stuff to like about this movie, especially for a streaming service movie, like the average casual.
Yes, for a streaming service movie, this is actually really good. If you put like, this is actually really good.
Like,
I'm pretty sure it was Amazon's most watched streaming movie ever or whatever. Yeah. Which, I mean, if this is going to get a sequel, that would be crazy.
I was saying how, and I love the stuff, the choices that the director makes with like some of these action sequences is like
creative,
different, pretty creative. Yeah, like, and it's stuff like that that just makes this movie like, a little bit better than like just like.
And let me just say, actually, let me just say, there's a fourth thing that was missing. There's a certain reveal throughout the course of this movie with our main character, and it reveals his traumatic past. That is not acknowledged, nor is there an arc after that. It actually gets kind of wild with his character.
It shows up.
The substance here is just so paper thin that the more you think about it, the more you're like, maybe this wasn't that good. But I give it a solid 7. Like it's 7-1. It's definitely the type of movie where like you'll put on, and it's definitely not boring. I'll give it that though. It's quite entertaining.
It's not boring. It's not. I wouldn't even say like it's bad. Like because
I wouldn't say that either.
There's no parts of this movie that are bad. Cliche, yes. Overdone, yes. Could be better, yes. But no parts of this movie are bad. And like I think there is some good character work, some good chemistry between some characters that helps carry the movie.
I think the best chemistry
Jake Gyllenhaal
in
is so
movie.
easy to watch. Like I think anything he's in, like you just watch. Jake Gyllenhaal he's he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. He's gonna make it digestible. You know, just by being him.
And there is a mid-credit scene, so don't forget this is the Roadhouse Cinematic Universe.
Can't forget the mid-credit
scene.
But
yeah, solid 7. Not gonna spend too much time on it, but we're gonna go ahead and get into a segment that we're gonna start doing on every single episode of the podcast.
Yes, we are.
And that is a segment we like to call Over Under, where me and Kels will give our opinions on something that is overrated and something that is
underrated.
Underrated. And we're going to let you guys actually discuss this in the comments below. My brother's going to give his and his reasoning behind it. And that's it. I'm not going to debate it. Yeah. Because we have stuff to debate later on in this episode. So, and then I'm going to give my overrated. But, yeah, go ahead and give your underrated. And, by the way, this will flip each week. So, I'm going to do overrated. He's going to do underrated. Next week, it'll be flipped. I'll do underrated. He'll do overrated. Y'all know how it goes. But give your underrated, your reasoning.
Underrated.
Why it's underrated.
Underrated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strong category. Films that nobody wants to love, but people do. And in my opinion, that applies directly to Wrath of Man.
Ooh.
A film by Guy Ritchie, a Jason Statham action thriller during COVID. Now, let me tell you something. This didn't get nowhere near the recognition it deserves, either popularity-wise or, in my opinion, review and critic-wise. I mean, the movie stands at what? The 7.1 on IMDb, 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. Don't understand that whatsoever. Now, the audience score I can get behind, 90%. Now, it's aggregate, so that means 9 out of 10 people like the movie. That's what I feel like the critic score should have reflected, because let me tell you something. Guy Ritchie makes this a Jason Statham all-timer. In my opinion, I love The Beekeeper. Love it. It's a great movie. Good job, David Ayer. But Wrath of Man is Jason Statham's best movie by far. He delivers a performance in this movie that's so stoic and so lifeless. And the way that Guy Ritchie, you know how Guy Ritchie is with, you know, some of the way he writes movies and stuff. The way that Guy Ritchie writes this movie and tells the story is in a very different way. And you get some plot twists and like some turns and some character reveals that make the movie a bit more interesting as it gets further down its runtime, and it just makes it really enjoy. Like it makes it so easy to enjoy the full way through. Like the action sequences are good. They're nothing crazy. It's not like a crazy John Wick hand-to-hand kind of movie, but you do get some dope action sequences that you can feel. They're a bit more realistic and a bit more like they have a bit more texture to them. Though some of the characters now, if you've seen Guy Ritchie movies, you know a lot of the characters in his movies are in a lot of his movies. So you got like now obviously Jason Statham is in Operation Fortune, but you got like Josh Hartnett is in this movie, and I'm pretty sure he's in either The Gentleman or The Covenant or Ministry of Gentlemanly Warfare. I forget, but like he has some of the, and then you got Hop McCallany as Bullet. Bullet is great in this movie, and if for any first-time watchers of this film, Bullet's character is gonna kind of come out as like a shock. And then you got like Scott Eastwood in this movie, who actually I wasn't in watching the movie. I'm not the hugest Scott Eastwood fan. I like Scott Eastwood; he's cool, whatever. But like at the beginning of this movie, I kind of wasn't really into what he was doing and stuff like that. What Guy Ritchie was doing with his character. Not that I was not necessarily not into it, but it just wasn't doing it for me. But as the movie progressed and as his character progressed, it became so much more believable, and that dynamic is so good, and the payoff at the end is so good. I love the cinematography of this movie. Some of these shots are done so well. You have a lot of these pull-out shots that are like from so long, and it looks so good. Combined with the score for this movie is so underrated. I love the score for this movie and the sound editing. This is Jason Statham's best movie, in my opinion. And honestly, for a COVID action thriller, like I would say it's probably like one of the best there. Like
I'd say my opinion, nobody is the best. I'd say nobody. I would, probably the
in
best.
My opinion, massively overrated.
Overrated?
Massively underrated. Massively underrated.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched Wrath of Man, by the way, like go watch it. Like it's actually really good. Yeah.
I mean, and Jason Statham, I never knew he had it in him. Maybe it's what Guy Ritchie did directing wise, but I mean, it's one of those movies that I catch myself wanting to rewatch, and some scenes just stick out in my head, and they just replay in my head. And yeah, I honestly think this is one of the most underrated movies of the 2020s. Like, wow. Period.
Okay,
it's such an underrated gem.
You guys comment below your thoughts on that. Whether you want to go against that opinion or whether you agree. Just comment your thoughts on that. As for me, this is gonna stir some feathers because I got the tough task of doing Overrated, which will always result in some type of rants. But this is gonna lead us into the next topic, anyways. The Guardians of the Galaxy, or not that. The Dark Knight trilogy is overrated. And let me explain. The Dark Knight trilogy is actually a really damn good trilogy overall. It's really good.
I'd agree.
The Dark Knight is one of the greatest movies, period, and one of the best comic book movies. Like, it should minimum be top 5 for you. If it's not top 5 for you, I need to see that list. Like, minimum, it should be top 5. With that being said, Batman Begins feels like it takes place in a different universe. The Gotham gets worse. Honestly, Rises is a pretty mid conclusion to the trilogy. It does a time jump. The adaptation and version of Bane is like some Shakespearean influence stuff. Tom Hardy does like a different voice in every movie though, so that's to be expected. And the fight choreography throughout the trilogy is horrendous. So was the editing. I mean, this is obviously leaving out the Dark Knight for the most part. The Dark Knight is obviously left out when it comes to my critiques with this trilogy. I just think Batman Begins feels the most, what should I say, faithful. And it kind of strays from there on. It starts feeling like Christopher Nolan movies with Batman characters in them. For better or for worse, I think that works completely for The Dark Knight. Most of us know Heath Ledger wasn't even like beloved for the role of the Joker until the movie released. And obviously now he is the grade A standard, the gold standard when it comes to comic book movie villains. But I think Dark Knight just has so much like issues with it. The time jump is the biggest for me because you're forced in this position where, since you're doing a trilogy of a Batman that just became Batman, you have to do this giant time jump to justify him retiring or kind of stepping away. And even then, he's only like 30 something years old as a retired Batman, which is not old enough to me, sir. Not old enough at all. You got the forced Robin in there, the worst death arguably in cinematic history. Like, it's up there.
But let's be honest, the Robin cameo is one of the greatest cameos in history.
Why don't you use your surname? Or was it your government name? I like it. Robin. Like, it's insane. It's
dies of peak fiction.
Dies of cringe. I think it's a great comic book movie trilogy. It's still there. Like, don't get me wrong. The only trilogies I would put above it are the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, the Captain America trilogy, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and maybe that's about it. Maybe the Raimi trilogy, honestly. Yeah, actually, I'd put the Raimi trilogy over it as well. And then, judging by how it ends up going, I think the Venom trilogy has a strong chance of being better. No, I'm joking, obviously.
The Morbius trilogy.
But yeah, that's my overrated. Not that it's bad or anything. I just think it is held to a standard that I don't think it's quite at.
That's
I think
if
you were to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, you would be way more satisfied. And the movies inherently are way more consistent overall than the Dark Knight trilogy. I think the Dark Knight trilogy has higher highs, but when it comes to consistency, storytelling over the course of the 3 movies, and the conclusion of that trilogy, Guardians is clearly so interconnected and woven, and by the end of it, you're feeling every little thing, while as with the Dark Knight, felt like, we got to close out this trilogy because the last one made $1 billion. Yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. You guys leave your comments below, though, on it. And I know it's a hot take. So speaking of hot takes, I asked you guys on Twitter. We asked you on Twitter for your movie hot takes. And yes, we will be absolutely grilling you. No, but we have all your hot takes here. At least at the time of the recording, all the people that replied. Yeah, you have it. So we're going to go ahead and discuss these from top to bottom. We're gonna start off with I've not seen this movie, and I said this in my reaction to Alien Romulus, so I'm not gonna speak on it. Just quickly give your thoughts on Aliens is not very good and highly overrated. I have not seen it, so don't spoil anything. Just give your quick thoughts because we gotta go through this. There's a lot of hot takes.
Quick thoughts. Aliens is highly overrated. Shut up. Right? You know what I mean? No. But seriously, I don't know how anybody could say it's overrated. I feel like it takes what Alien does. It takes the franchise. It takes the idea and puts it in a great movie, like technical wise. Like it's written great. You have elements of sci-fi. You have elements of horror, action. You got a strong female lead in Sigourney Weaver. James Cameron directs the absolute shit out of this movie. All of the practical effects and stuff, like they look absolutely amazing. This is a masterpiece of its genre, and in my top 10 films of all time, for anybody to say that it's overrated is blatant disrespect. Not only to James Cameron, but to me as well. That's a spicy ass take. You watch your mouth with that.
I've never seen Alien or Aliens. Obviously, I'll be reacting to it for the channel. Probably leading up to Alien Romulus. I think that'll be a great time to do it. But the next one is Eternals was very good and one of the best in Phase 4. I disagree. I think those characters have the personality of cardboard. They all have no chemistry, and they lack depth. The reasons they're on Earth are extremely convoluted. The deviants are terrible villains. The cinematography is great, thanks to Chloe Zhao's on-location shooting that she always likes to do. But I'm sorry, I couldn't connect to the story or any of the characters. I think the biggest moment that got any sort of feeling out of me was Makkari beating Icarus's ass at Mach 10. That's pretty much it. The VFX in it is really great.
Listen, I was hyping up Eternals for the longest. I was in Eternals dick right.
Oh, the music is great. And the costume designing and the cast. That's all.
I was the one, I was like, hey, what are you talking about? Shut your mouth. Eternals is going to be a banger. Yeah. No, it sucked.
I really thought it was going to be the auteur.
And if I do recall, didn't we watch Eternals like closest shit to the screen?
No, we saw it in Dolby, and it was.
I don't know why I have that feeling, but yeah,
there is highlights. I think anything that happens with the Celestials are amazing. Like anytime the Celestials pop up, it was like I need more of that shit because that was actually cool. Like when Arishem like goes away in the black hole, or they meet Arishem for the first time, you see the difference in scale between like a human and a planet and a celestial, and them like creating universes. Like it's all so cool. I just think
cool stuff in there, but
the story's convoluted. The villain.
Wait. Like, could you read the hot take again? I just want to make sure.
It was Eternals is very good and one of the best in Phase 4.
Now, if you mean by one of the best, you mean
like top 5. That bar's on the floor, kind of.
Yeah. But if you mean like top 3, I gotta question your sanity.
No, because we have what's in Phase 4: Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man: No Way
No
Home,
Way
Shang-Chi.
Home. Even like Multiverse of Madness, in my opinion,
Is Black Widow Phase 4 or no?
I don't.
I think it is.
Oh, is it?
I think it is. Yeah, it's not. I gotta disagree with that, but that's why it's a hot take.
It's a hot take.
By the way, leave your comments down below on any of these hot takes that you agree or disagree with. Like, we love discuss with you guys. Quick thoughts. Inglourious Bastards is one of Tarantino's lesser films.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
I've been trying to get him to watch it.
My brother be glazing Inglourious.
This is my favorite Tarantino film. I think I can confidently say that. I think the score bangs. Like, the music in here bangs. The cinematography, it's shot so well and so intricately. Like, it thinks about every frame. Don't even get me started with the performances in here. We got people like Christoph Waltz doing 3 accents, winning an Oscar. We got Michael Fassbender in here doing 2 accents. We got little details of like the differences in quote unquote true German and like just the overall. I'm not gonna spoil it. The story itself goes so hard. When you find out what the plot of the movie is, you're like, this goes so hard. Everything about this movie is great. It split into chapters, which makes the pacing like great. I mean, Brad Pitt's hilarious in this movie. This is like, that's a shocker, but I mean, that's why it's a hot take. But yeah, he can't really talk about it. But give your comments down below on that take. I think Inglourious Basterds is phenomenal. Probably Quentin's best to me. I know there's a certain movie that people think is his best. I have not watched it, and I will be watching it on the channel. But yeah, the next one we have are Marvel movies are fantastic. Not because they're narrative, not because they are a narrative built and weave together, but because on one side, you'll have a tragic and dark story, and on the other side, you can have a comedy. I feel like that's been lost, and they're only focusing on the former. So they're only focusing on dark and tragic stories instead of the comedies, and they feel like that's what originally made Marvel.
I just think there's a way to do it good and not. Like, I just think, like, you can do a comedy, but you can do one well. Or you can turn out a comedy that's dog shit like Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, like, I don't know what to like. Thor Ragnarok is a comedy, and it's much better than Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah. So I just think it's just a quality.
And I think honestly, I think this might be a cold take, saying that's what made them special.
Right.
I think that is what made them special. I think
I could understand why he would think some people would think otherwise, and you know.
I think seeing something like Winter Soldier, and then right after that you get something like Ant-Man was what made the MCU so special is you get these diverse kind of set of films. Obviously, they're all kind of in a similar formula, but they're inherently different in terms of its aesthetic, its tone, and all that. Like when you see Black Panther for the first time, is it the most well constructed movie in history?
No. But it does everything just well enough.
It's the first of its kind. Like, it's so great. Like,
done better than others. Like, it's
I don't know if that's a hot take, but you guys tell us in the comments below. The next one, this is a spicy meatball. Interstellar is mid. As fuck. It's beautiful visually. Had some imagery, has a solid emotional punch at the end, but the entire first act feels rather insincere and cheesy. The characters aren't interesting, and its messaging on climate level is quite flawed. Okay. 6 out of 10 at
Let me start off by saying you must be a Rotten Tomatoes critic because you guys are the only people I know that couldn't give Interstellar the flowers. I mean, the first act, don't get me wrong, the second and third act are the best parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like in
that's how Nolan's movies are kind of written.
In my opinion, in order, the second act, in my opinion, is the best, and then the third act, and then the first act. But I don't know what he's talking about with the characters being corny and stuff like that. Like, I think the first act gets it off underway pretty well. It establishes the dynamic.
No, he didn't say. He said the characters aren't interesting.
Yeah, again, like, I don't know how we fit now. Granted, you're not getting the most out of these characters, but you're getting depth there with, you know, the dynamic and relationship between Matthew McConaughey and his children. Like, you could see like his relationship with Timothy Chalamet, and he's like, oh yeah, you can drive the car and this and that. Like you get some certain dynamics that give these characters more depth off rip, and like I feel like as the movie progresses, that stuff becomes even more true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
like I feel like as the movie, I feel like the first act you could say it's weak. I would just say the first act is setting up the second, and then the second act is setting up the third, and it feels that way. It's just a matter of like what you like and what you don't. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't say if this is really a hot take because it sounded like he was like, it sounded like he loved the movie, like when he was first describing it.
No, he just said it was beautiful. Had some good imagery. He's just basically saying it's.
And then
it's
again,
mid.
the writing,
he said 6 out of 10 at best.
And the writing in the movie is so interesting. I mean,
yeah, I do. I will say what it does. Yeah. What it does so special is.
Plus, you have the Martian in the movie. Stop. Like,
is you play kind of catch up with it, right? So they introduce every like 20 minutes. They introduce a concept, and it's so. Not necessarily confusing, but it's so advanced. It's so sophisticated that you're spending the 20 minutes trying to get it, and as soon as you get it, it introduces a new concept, and it does that like 3 or 4 times during the course of the movie.
It's a case of just the movie looking pretty. Like the performances in this movie are amazing.
Are great. I do want to say I could see where he's coming from by saying the characters aren't interesting because inherently the characters themselves,
but in my opinion,
aren't the story with them is. The story with those characters is what's interesting.
I think that it gives.
No, obviously. I'm not saying the characters aren't interesting. I'm just saying I could see where he's coming from. But that's our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on that. We gotta start going through these way faster because there's like 20. Okay, so live action Little Mermaid is better than the animated one. My brother has not seen it. I have not seen the animated version in so long, but I think they're honestly like the same. I never held the animated one that high, and the live action one was pretty enjoyable. So I don't know. You guys tell us. Your thoughts below on that one. Past Lives is still the best film from 2023. I don't know if that's a hot take because that's a damn good movie. Like if you have that, that's the best. I wouldn't argue against it.
Yeah, that is the best, but I don't think it's the best. And
I think it's Poor Things for me. Poor Things was doing a 10 on everything: visuals, editing, costume, makeup, performances, story, pacing. Everything about score. The score of Poor Things is great. Oppenheimer is up there.
I can't be mad at that though. That's a mild take.
That's a mild take. Yeah. You guys tell us your thoughts on that. Do you hardly disagree? Do you very hardly disagree with that, or do you really agree with it? The other one we have from the boy Hernandez saying, doesn't matter who plays Batman. Any actor can do it. The guy is malleable enough in that way. Any actor.
I wouldn't. Okay, that is a spicy take. I wouldn't say any.
Tom Holland as Batman. Anyone? Tom Holland as Batman. Anyone?
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet as Batman. Anyone?
And I definitely wouldn't say he's malleable. I mean, there is a certain way Batman looks.
I think it depends on the type of Batman you're going with, though.
It does. It does.
Like you're going with the year one Batman or something. No, but if you're going with
I think you kind of make this case with a younger iteration of Batman. But even there, I feel like you can only stretch and make flexible the character itself so much.
How about this?
I feel like it's so attached to its source material in comics that it's the exact opposite of that. Like it's not malleable. Like we've seen before that once somebody even steps nearly out of that zone, something like a lot of people don't really like that and feel like it should be a certain way. And I don't know. I would say to a point it's malleable, but not fully. Like, I mean, we're talking about Batman.
I'll use this as an example. What do you think about Alan Richardson as Batman?
I think Alan Richardson as Batman works, and not because the character is malleable. Because if you look at Alan Richardson, he's not that far from a Batman type. Yes, he has blue hair, not blue. Yes, he has blonde hair, not black or brown like Batman, right? But like, he can have brown hair, like, and he has Batman's chin and like Batman is huge in.
I do think he has dad quality, which would be great for Brave and the Bold.
The dad quality, and like I feel like Alan Richardson is a Batman.
Not my first choice though. Not my first choice.
Not the first choice, but he is.
I think Homie from The Gentleman show would crush
Alan Richardson is so detached from being able to from the casting of Batman that it's like, what, really, Alan Richardson? I feel like it's more of a case of Alan Richardson is one of the ones.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a spicy take.
That is a spicy take.
Comment down below your thoughts on the take, and who do you want?
Like, come on, bro, Michael Cera is that, like.
Yeah. That's insane.
What are you doing, Joker?
But yeah, leave your comments on that hot take. But actually, what I want to hear is who would you cast as DCU Batman? I want to see what you guys put down there. Who would you cast as DCU Batman? I'm watching The Gentleman right now, and I think Theo James would be amazing as Batman. I also think he would be
an amazing James Bond.
But yeah, guys, that's definitely a spicy take. The next one comes from Donald Strange saying Ant-Man is one of the worst MCU characters. I don't know about but the Eternals exist.
Yeah.
So like all of them are worse. All of them are worse. And what are we talking about? Heroes? Are we talking about heroes? Because there's a lot of villains that are worse than Ant-Man.
I mean, Ant-Man is crazy, but Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is a great
That's a gem. That's a gem. They wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt at first.
In those Avengers movies,
they wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Ant-Man peaks in those Avengers movies. Like, come on.
Yeah, in Civil War, he's like one of the best parts of Civil War. Like,
great.
I don't know. I love Paul Rudd in the role. I think it's great. Someone said Into the Spider-Verse over Across the Spider-Verse. Don't think that's a hot take. I think there's people that like Across the Spider-Verse over it, but I don't think this is necessarily a hot take. It's kind of whichever one you prefer.
I'd actually say that that's the case for the majority of people.
For the majority? I don't know, man. I think people prefer a crossover. I prefer Into the Spider-Verse. But Chronicle is the best superhero movie. You're insane. That is a great movie, especially...
No. I actually, on a level, agree. If The Dark Knight
didn't exist,
if Logan didn't exist, if Avengers Infinity War didn't exist, if Winter Soldier didn't exist.
So you're just going to name all the superhero movies that are better.
Watchmen, 300. I hear Sin City is good. You know how, you know.
I hear Sin City is good. No, Chronicle is a banger.
I love Chronicle. Chronicle.
Really good indie flick, too. I don't even know what happens to the third guy, but it put Michael B. Jordan. It sent Michael B. Jordan and Dane Down to the stratosphere.
It's a different kind of superhero movie. The best,
Josh Trank hasn't recovered since. But best
Fantastic is the best.
That was made by Josh Trank.
I know.
But yeah, hot take. Heavily disagree, but you guys tell us in the comments below what you guys think.
That's a crazy thing.
Another one. Across the Spider-Verse should have won the Oscar, and Iron Man 3 over Iron Man 1 over Iron Man 2 over the entire Thor trilogy. So we're going to address the first one first. I think Across should have won, but I'm happy for Miyazaki. I think if there's any...
I'm going to give you a hot take right now.
That should have...
I don't think Boy in the Heron or Across Spider-Verse should have won.
You think the first slam dunk?
I think the first slam dunk should
I agree. I like the first slam dunk more than both.
For best animation.
It didn't get nominated, though. Unfortunately.
It didn't get nominated. It's underrated. I'm going to do a video on that separately because it needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
We actually might review it on another podcast episode. But I feel like that should have won. And I honestly do think Across should have won as well, you know, over Boy in the Heron. I love all those movies. All those movies are so good. But I do think
if there was a movie to beat Across, it was going to be Boy in the Heron.
It was going to be Miyazaki.
As for the second one, he said Iron Man 3 over Iron Man 1 over Iron Man 2 over the entire Thor trilogy. I'm going to disagree with both of those. I love Iron Man 3. I am an Iron Man 3 like truer.
But Iron Man 1 is all time shit.
Man. Iron Man 1 is genuinely some generational like a generational movie, and all three over the Thor trilogy.
I would say yeah.
I actually agree.
I would say
I actually agree.
I would say so.
I think Yeah, Ragnarok's
I don't think
clearly
that's
carrying the Thor trilogy, but I do think
and
Iron Man 3 and Iron Man 1
is a spicy take either. What's up? What's up with this?
I don't know. But you guys tell us in the comments below your thoughts on both of those takes. This next one we got is BVS is the best DCEU movie. Agree or disagree?
This is a freezing cold take. I mean, let's be honest here.
Disagree. No, it's mad convoluted.
In my opinion, it's not my favorite DCEU movie, but it's also not my least favorite. And I actually really do appreciate BVS. I feel like it's actually not appreciated enough, and it's got too much negative connotations around it, and like people are I feel like it's the easy thing to hate on BVS and like see the bad in it, when in reality, especially with the dog shit comic book movies we've been force fed for the past couple of years now, I feel like BVS was better than people made it out to be, and that there's stuff in that movie that transcends the comic book.
You are yapping. I mean, the next one they say is Rango is decent but overrated. I mean, I never held Rango like that high.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's like one of the best animated movies of all time.
I don't know.
But I like Rango.
They also said, I think you might agree with this one. They said Everything Everywhere All at Once is great but overrated. I disagree. I think that's genuinely one of the most creative and
100%.
Like
that's a hot take.
best indie films I've seen in a while.
It is. I think it's a great movie, but I also do think it's overrated. I mean, some people try to make it out to be like a straight up masterpiece.
Citizen Kane.
Like, come on, bro. Like, I love the movie, but like, come on, bro. Like, there's stuff in there that is not. It's not perfect. And some people made it out to be like that, but
they also said Thor 1 is average. I think that's kind of disrespecting Kenneth Branagh a little bit, but
I think that's not hard of a take.
I don't disagree.
I think there will be a lot of people that would agree with you. There's a lot of people that don't like that movie.
Extended cut of Once Upon a Time in America is the best 4-hour film. I don't even know what that is.
I've never seen that.
Can't speak on that. And then Last of the I'm not even gonna read that one. It's a Michael Mann. Yeah, it's a Michael Mann film. They said it's a top 2 Michael Mann film. Only Michael Mann film I have watched is Heat, and that is it. Then they say Spider-Man 3 over the entire MCU Spider-Man trilogy. You're joking. I hope you are, at least. Not with that version of Eddie Brock. And
no,
we're not even gonna talk. We're not even gonna talk about. Dude, do I need to just go? I'm not even gonna yap. Just go watch my Spider-Man 3 review, part of the multi-views. It explains the issues with that movie. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Raimi stands.
We got someone saying Spider-Man has the best MCU trilogy. This isn't that hot of a take because, in my opinion,
he has a strong ass trilogy.
Yeah,
Far From Home. I've always said I don't think Far From Home is as bad as people make it out to be on Twitter.
It's definitely overrated on Twitter. It's beloved.
It's overrated. Don't get me wrong. It's overrated by critics and shit like that. Like, they made that movie seem like it was like crazy good, but it's not even bad. Like, it's like it meets somewhere in the middle. Like, not even mid. Like, it's a little bit more above mid. Like, it's got some good things going for it. Now, there's things that I could see people not liking, but I don't think any of that is like enough to ruin the movie for me. But yeah, I don't think that's a hot take. Like, MCU Spider-Man has a strong trilogy.
I think saying it's the best trilogy might be a bit of a hot take, but I don't know. There be people that prefer the Cap trilogy, which for another overrated. But all I'm gonna say is I don't think it's that much of a hot take. I think Spider-Man Homecoming, to me, is the best first Spider-Man movie. I think it does so many things right. Far From Home continues that iteration of the character in a really cool way. I think doing Mysterio was great. Having Jake Gyllenhaal play him ate up the screen. And I do think, unironically, that movie is genuinely misunderstood. People don't actually quite understand what that movie's trying to do. And then No Way Home, I mean, you want to talk about a movie just getting straight up, like, turned on, bro? Like, people turned on that movie so fast. Like, you weren't there in the theater jumping up. Stop. I don't care. The movie has its plot holes, but it's still wildly entertaining. And like the darkest of the trilogy and by far the most like gut punching.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got such an integral, like the way they use the nostalgia, but the way they bring in those other iterations of Spider-Man to lift up and tell Peter's
I can't
story.
get with the revisionism and trying to hate on No Way Home. I just
Don't
can't
understand it. Someone says Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the best of the three. Gotta disagree there, but I don't know if that's much of a hot take because I think all three are very consistent.
Not in my opinion.
Like they're all three really consistent. Like if you prefer one over the other, like my brother prefers 1 over 3, not gonna argue it. I prefer 3 over 1, and if you prefer 2 over all of them, I mean that's your opinion. But they also said Zack Snyder.
In my opinion, is the weakest, but
they also said Zack Snyder Justice League over BVS, BVS over Man of Steel. I disagree. I think
that's not my order. My order is actually Man of Steel over Zack Snyder Justice League over BVS. But I love Zack Snyder Justice League, and the only reason I have Man of Steel over it is because it's easier to watch because it's not 4 hours.
Mine would be Zack Snyder.
That's the only reason. I think Zack Snyder Justice League is more
BVS.
More
big gap between Man of Steel and BVS for me.
Polished.
Someone said Kilmer's Batman over Keaton's Batman. I agree. And then although both of them are great, Watchmen would have gotten critical acclaim if it came out today. 100%. If it was directed by Zack Snyder, probably not. Actually,
yeah. I was gonna say
his movies are always divisive, no matter how good they are.
They'll never be pleased. But
the director's cut,
yes.
The director's cut of Daredevil 2003 is good. I have not seen it, and I will probably never.
I can say I do think Daredevil is overrated.
I love this account, by the way. Venomaniac says the Venom films are way better without Spider-Man. He's trolling. Someone says Tenet is one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. I disagree. I literally think it's quite possibly his weakest that I've seen. Yeah. It's so convoluted and incomprehensible, and the characters aren't that interesting at all. I don't think it's boring, but I personally wouldn't mind if it was on TV, but I wouldn't go out to watch it again unless, maybe I'm showing someone the movie for the first time or it's getting a special release or something like that. Spider-Man 2 is overrated. I guess you can make that argument. I disagree, but you can make that argument, but I disagree. Ant-Man Quantumania and the Marvels are actually solid movies. I'd probably give you a pass with the Marvels, maybe, but Quantumania
solid.
I mean, I don't know, honestly.
Quantumania is pretty. It's
Quantumania has humongous issues.
Don't get me wrong. Quantumania, it has its high. It has its high moments, like MODOK,
mainly in the second act.
But MODOK is peak. But solid.
Yeah,
the Marvels I could see.
Yeah, you can make a case for that, but Quantumania is poorly written. The performances are honestly really phoned in for the most part. It's not that funny. It's not as funny as the previous two, and we're not even gonna talk about the visuals. Oh my goodness, it looks like mud. There's genuinely stuff in that movie, stuff that'll make you genuinely be like, oh my god, Marvel is falling. But yeah, someone says Black Panther is the best MCU film, only film nominated for Best Picture. It has the most likable and relatable villain, best soundtrack by 𝙎𝙬𝙀, best MCU ensemble of actors, one of the highest grossing MCU movies. Honestly, it has only gotten better with time and the passing of Boseman. Rest in peace, but don't make this about the passing of him. I think it's not the best MCU film. It has its issues.
It sounds like bro likes the movie because of its achievements.
I mean, I guess that could be a case made, but for me, I think
I don't think
not everything's great about it.
I think even the biggest Marvel fan, biggest Black Panther fan, could tell. I think there's some Black Panther fans that will tell you the same thing. I think they will tell you that.
I actually reviewed both
But it's a damn good movie. It's one of the better MCU movies.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
Both of them, too. Like,
Ryan Coogler hasn't made a bad movie yet.
Well.
Hasn't made a bad movie yet. I'm so excited for that vampire movie he's doing. But, yeah, highly disagree. It's not in my top 5 MCU. And I do prefer Wakanda Forever over it a lot more. And I reviewed both on our channel. So if you want to know my thoughts, they're on the channel. Someone says... Okay, we got 2 more. Thank you. We're pretty much done. Someone says the Raimi trilogy is not the gold standard for all at all.
Not a hot take.
For all current and future Spider-Man content.
That's not a hot take.
I don't think that's a hot take.
We know it's not the gold standard. There's movies that aren't Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies that everyone loves.
Yeah, I do think though there is this kind of not even misconception, but some of the diehard fans want everything Spider-Man related to be the Raimi trilogy. And if it's not done like the Raimi trilogy, then it's bad. And I think that's where I really draw the line, because there's certain people out here. I'm not going to name names. But there's certain, content creators. There's certain Twitter accounts, YouTubers that love to glaze the Raimi trilogy, love to hate the MCU trilogy, and their criticisms aren't consistent at all, which is okay. Sometimes we favorite things, I adore Spider-Man.
Sometimes the bias just eats us up inside like the symbiote.
We just read a hot take of someone calling Spider-Man 2 overrated. I disagree, because I grew up with that film. Is it the most well written?
I forgot that
probably not.
Already.
But
it was already out of my
but I grew up with that movie, so it just comes with like feelings, and I think that's where most of that sentiment comes from of holding the Raimi trilogy that high. Is just certain people, growing up with it and kind of gatekeeping everything else and kind of keeping it up there.
Yeah.
But the last one we have is 2 outtakes. They say Iron Man 3 over Iron Mid 1.
You watch your language. You watch yourself.
Yeah. I got to disagree with that. Like I've said before, I'm an Iron Man 3 truther. I think it definitely handles more interesting themes than Iron Man 1.
Iron Man 1, you thought that was so funny, huh?
But, it's got a worse villain. It just doesn't go as... Actually... Let me take that back. The mansion sequence in Iron Man 3 is genuinely peak fiction, but like Iron Man 1 just goes hard. There's just something about it. Like, oh man, and
it's really good.
It's an all-timer. It's a generation start of the MCU. You can't take those feelings away from that movie. You can't. It's like almost impossible to. The soundtrack in it, dude, the AC/DC soundtrack in it, and like, oh man, like it's got the sauce, and I disagree. But they also said Iron Man 2, or not Iron Man 2. They said Ant-Man 2 over Ant-Man 1 and 3. Hold your horses. Ant-Man 2 looks like concrete, and honestly,
dude, no,
we're not even gonna talk about Ant-Man 3.
No, don't get me wrong. Ant-Man 1 is not good enough to be throwing your arms up and being like, what do you think Ant-Man 2 is better? What? Don't get me wrong.
No. They said Ant-Man 2 is better than 1 and 3.
I know. But I'm saying Ant-Man 1, yeah. It's not like some masterpiece where it's like, that's the hottest take ever. But Ant-Man 1 is like one of the stronger MCU movies.
Yeah, I think.
Like, what do you like? In my opinion, it does everything better than Ant-Man 2, besides maybe the action. But even the action, in my opinion, the way it's scaled and stuff like that.
I like the action in Ant-Man 1 way more.
Yeah, the way they have fun with the scale and stuff like that is way better than like.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. With all due respect, I don't want Peyton Reed on any more MCU projects. And with all due respect, the reason why Ant-Man 1 is as good, absolutely, yeah, #1 director. The reason why I think Ant-Man 1, and I've expressed this multiple times on Twitter, I think Ant-Man 1 really is the best of the trilogy. It's not even close, and I do think a strong reason for that is because there are still remnants of Edgar Wright's work. #1, Marvel wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt to play Ant-Man. Obviously, Edgar Wright's the one that decided to go with the Scott Lang route and do the whole heist thing and make him kind of mentored by Hank Pym. And then obviously the visualization of Ant-Man, like when they first revealed that footage at San Diego Comic-Con with Edgar Wright, and you see that scene that's in Ant-Man 1, by the way, it's in Ant-Man 1, where he's at the I forget Darren Cross's
little building,
where he's there fighting the security guards with the guns. Like everything about that, him running through the little miniature set that he made with the sound effects and just the visualization of how it looks when he's Ant-Man. I mean, there's so many, the comedy, there's so many remnants of Edgar Wright's work in there, and that's what I think.
How dare you say that?
What I think kept it there.
Actually, keep that shit away from me.
And I do think
don't ever come at me with that kind of stuff.
All Ant-Man 2 and Ant-Man 3 did was support that narrative that I have even stronger. Was it proved to me even more that Ant-Man 1.
I mean, they were cooking with. They lost the gem in Edgar Wright. They're idiots.
They did. Imagine if he did a trilogy. Imagine if Edgar Wright is the one who made an Ant-Man trilogy.
We have to imagine. We have to.
You know what would be hilarious about that is that Ant-Man, out of all characters, would have probably had one of the best comic book movie trilogies.
Would have had $1 billion.
That's just hilarious to me. We would have had $1 billion Ant-Man franchise, which is insane. But yeah, I heavily disagree with that take.
We
heavily disagreed with a lot of these, but you guys tell us in the comments below.
I think a lot of you guys could use some counseling. Guidance, if you will.
Yeah, place your comments below in on your thoughts on any of these.
You think what you want.
Hot takes. They're hot takes for a reason.
Some hot takes.
And we loved hearing it. We loved debating it. And hopefully we see you guys down in the comments below debating it with us. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Double Feature Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the topics that we talked about. We'll be back next week talking about some stuff like Monkey Man and some more stuff, some more news. And yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did and you haven't, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that bell. Helps out the channel a ton. You guys can follow us over at our social links. They're right below our names. And obviously, you guys see it below there. You guys can go ahead and send in some questions.
Give us your hot takes for next podcast episode.
For the podcast through Streamlabs. But yeah, guys, other than that, it's been your boy Kezzy.
It's been your boy Kels.
And hopefully we'll see you guys in the next one.